Okay, let's talk about something we use every single day but maybe don't think about too much, the equal sign. What does it really mean for two things to be the same? I don't mean just kind of similar, I mean logically, fundamentally, absolutely identical. We're going to crack this thing open today and see what's inside.
You know, we all just accept that 2 plus 2 equals 4. Of course it does. But what if I asked you to prove it? Not just do the math, but prove that the idea of 2 plus 2 and the idea of 4 are the exact same thing. How would you even start? Well, that little puzzle is exactly what we're digging into.
And that question brings us right to our first stop, what I'm calling the riddle of sameness.
See, the real power of the equal sign isn't just for stating obvious things, like, a cat is a cat. The magic happens when it connects two totally different descriptions that, surprise, are pointing to the exact same thing. Every time that happens, it's a genuine discovery.
The brilliant philosopher Gottlob Frege really hit the nail on the head with this one. He pointed out that a statement like 4 equals 2 plus 2 isn't trivial. It actually gives us new information. It tells us that two different paths, the symbol 4 and the calculation 2 plus 2, lead to the exact same spot. It's a tiny bit of new knowledge.
So, if saying two things are equal is a kind of discovery, how do we confirm it? How do we prove it's true? Well, that leads us to what I think is a super cool idea, the ultimate swap test.
In the world of logic, this has a fancy name, the Axiom of Substitutivity. But don't let the name intimidate you. All it says is that if two things are truly identical, you should be able to swap them out for each other in any true sentence, and the sentence should still be true. The logicians have a cool Latin phrase for this, salva veritate, preserving the truth.
And Frege believed this wasn't just a rule, it was the rule. He basically said that this whole idea of substitutability, this swap test, contains everything you need to know about identity. It's the whole shebang.
So here's how it works, broken down. First, you take a statement you know is true. Let's say Mark Twain wrote Huckleberry Finn. We know that's true. Second, you swap in the thing you think is identical, in this case, Samuel Clemens. So the new sentence is, Samuel Clemens wrote Huckleberry Finn. And third, you check if it's still true. Yep. And here's the kicker. If you can do this for every single true thing you could possibly say about Mark Twain, then you've proven it. Mark Twain and Samuel Clemens are logically one and the same.
Okay, but what makes this swap test so reliable? How can we be sure it's not going to fail us in some weird corner case? What makes it a universal truth?
This is so important. For logic to work, its rules have to be totally airtight. Not just usually works, but always works. So what's the guarantee behind this whole substitution idea? What makes it so solid?
The answer is a concept called general validity. You can think of it as the ultimate stress test for any logical claim. An identity is only truly logically valid if it works in every single possible world you can imagine, with not a single exception or counterexample. Zero.
And here's a cool little detail. In the Russian school of logic, they have this amazing word for it, obseshnachimost. It translates basically to general significance or universality, which just perfectly captures this idea that a real truth has to be true everywhere, for all time.
And believe it or not, this isn't some new idea. We're talking ancient wisdom here. This goes all the way back to Aristotle. He was the one who first said that for any argument to be logically solid, it had to be generally valid. It couldn't have even one tiny crack in its armor.
All right, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds incredibly rigid, incredibly absolute. But in the real world, isn't identity a bit more complicated? A bit more contextual? That brings us to a really important distinction: logic versus the real world.
Exactly. I mean, think about yourself. Are you identical to the person you were 10 years ago? You have the same name, but you've changed, right? So how does this super strict logical rule handle the messy, flexible nature of reality?
Well, the trick is to understand we're talking about two different levels here. On one side, you have pure logical identity. Think of it like a perfect tool in a workshop. It's absolute, it's unchanging, it's perfect. Then, on the other side, you have contextual identity. That's the tool being put to use on a specific job. It's applied within a certain system, a certain theory, and its meaning can change depending on that context.
Logicians have a term for this specific context. They call it a universe of knowledge. It's basically the set of rules for the game you're playing. So, within the universe of a legal system, your legal identity is absolute. Within the universe of chemistry, two H2O molecules are identical. The swap test still works perfectly, but only within the defined rules of that specific universe.
So, why have we gone down this rabbit hole? Why does all this abstract stuff about swap tests and universes of knowledge actually matter? Because it's not just a game, it's something much, much bigger. It is the very bedrock of reason.
This whole concept isn't just a fun mental puzzle. It's the absolute foundation that keeps our entire system of thinking from collapsing. Without a strict, universally agreed-upon definition of sameness, logic would descend into chaos and contradiction. This is the glue holding it all together.
So let's wrap it up. Why does this matter? Well, first, it tells us that at its core, pure logic is absolute, not relative. That's huge. Second, it's what ensures consistency and solves the problem of contradiction. Third, it acts as a fundamental law of truth. And maybe most importantly, it's the foundation of all proof. Without it, the idea of proving anything deductively just crumbles.
Which leaves us with one final, big question to chew on. We've seen that for logic and reason to work, they have to be built on a concept of identity that is perfect, absolute, and unchanging. But we, as people, are the exact opposite of that. We're constantly changing, growing, evolving. So if logic needs perfection to function, what does that say about our own messy, beautiful, and ever-changing human identities? Something to think about.